Campers, I forgot to put my fucking camera on then. How are you, gang? I hope you're going well. A happy Monday. Happy Monday to you all. I sincerely hope that you had yourselves a fabulous weekend. It's Andy here, the professional human. I hope you're going well. Hope you had yourselves a good long weekend. If you are in Queensland, New South Wales, then Adelaide had a long weekend. I think everybody except Victoria and WA had a long weekend. So I hope you had yourselves a solid one, though. I hope it was nice and productive. I hope it wasn't busy, but it was successful. All right. So busy is bad. Don't forget that from last week's episode. It's actually had some really, really good reactions to it, gang. Just to reiterate, the way that we talk determines how we feel and think and all that sort of jazz. You need to stop talking like you're busy and start acting like you're being productive. That's going to help you in this game by a long stretch. Now, gang, first things first, I want to ask you, as always, how are we out of 10? How's our weekends been out of 10? How are things looking for the week ahead out of 10? Write your scores on the doors in the comments section below. I need to put my teeth in. I had an auction earlier today, right, at 6 o'clock. Auction went really, really well. But I swear I put the wrong teeth in this morning. I swear. Like I was just, for some reason, I don't know if anybody noticed it on the auction call, but I certainly bloody did. It did. Like I was really stumbling a little bit. I don't know whether it's because I was thinking a bit too much about some other stuff earlier on in the day. I don't know. But anyway, for some reason, my mouth and my teeth, my language had evaded me somewhat. So kind of strange. Mate, Luke, good to have you on, man. Give us a score. Give us a score, mate, out of 10. Let me know how you're going down your neck of the woods. I'm sure you are kicking goals as per usual. Luke Walker, gang, has taken control of his destiny with some of the moves that he's made. And there you go, man. 20 out of 10. The boy's doing all right for himself. The boy's doing very, very well. Gang, I want to also, before I crack on, thank Anywhere Auctions for supporting us with this little professional human project. Really appreciate it. We're going to be setting up some interviews very, very soon. We're going to be lining up a whole bunch of really, really cool people, and that's going to potentially form part of a podcast too. So really want to thank the team at Anywhere Auctions, Gary Rangan, and the gang there for everything that they've done so far and everything that they are going to do with us moving forward. It's going to be a ripper ride. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to be able to provide genuine value, and that's one of the reasons why I've jumped not on board with them, but I've sort of been happy to align with them because their intentions are really, really good, I have to say. And we're going to be bringing out some really good value stuff that's going to provide genuine help and support and information and knowledge and awareness and all those cool things to both the consumer base and also to the professional side of things as well. So super excited. I'm going to be giving away a load of stuff for free. They might do as well, but one thing we are going to be bringing is so much information, and that's really exciting because they want to do it in a way that actually is going to benefit actual human beings instead of just BSing people into making the wrong calls. Now, I want to know, just let me know though, team, how you're getting on over the course of this. Just tell me how you're getting on out of 10. If you do have any questions, please pop them into the chat function. We're going to have a chat about breaking old patterns tonight. And the reason why we're going to chat about breaking old patterns, breaking old habits is even with everything that we've all been through over the last 20 months or 247 days or whatever the record is in Victoria, but all over the country, Australia, New Zealand, over the ditch, the amount of shit that we've been through, right? And still, I'm having to just not justify, but I'm having to explain why certain people with certain professionals would make certain changes around the way that they go about their business when They've just had the shit kicked out of them. And as soon as there's some light at the end of the tunnel, they're dropping straight back into behaviors that put them in the shit in the first place. Right? It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. Now, I get, right, the fact that there's this whole, when you're so involved in it, it's so much easier to talk from the sidelines as opposed to getting in the game. So much easier to talk from outside the business, while, as opposed to just being so deeply rooted in the business, right? And I get that. I understand that. I appreciate that. But at the same time, we've been taken out of our trains of thought, out of our status quo, out of our modus operandi. And so surely that might have shaken a few of yous into actually having a look at the way that you make your decisions in your businesses, just maybe a little bit different. It's really interesting, right? So when it comes to habits, right, and this is what it all boils down to. Habits are like an old glove, right? They fit comfortably, they are warm, they are cozy. Habits, and we always talk about forming new habits and all this sort of jazz, right? But we don't really tend to talk about how nice the old habits are. And I think we need to acknowledge that a little bit more, especially in a business sense, so we can become more aware as to why it is so bloody hard to break some of these habits and patterns and trains of thought and behaviors. It's, again, and I don't want to keep hanging shit on business coaches and the like, but there's way too much of keeping an eye on the sunshine and rainbows thing, right? But the problem is, unless you acknowledge what's going on currently and why it's so difficult to change, then any changes that you try and make aren't going to last. Simple as that. Now, let's take this hot war. I nearly said it. Let's take everything that's gone on. COVID's a banned word, by the way. Let's take what's gone on over the last 20 odd months, right? As a case in point. We've been forced to make a whole stack of changes in order for us to be able to function properly, right? In order for us to make money, in order for us to get by, all that sort of jazz. And it's been crazy, the amount of real sort of silver lining commentary around how a lot of the changes have opened a lot of people's eyes as to, how things could be done and how more efficient things are and all this sort of stuff. Yet, and I could speak to Victoria, obviously, to a great extent, but working with a lot of the crews now in all the other states, in New South Wales, in Queensland in particular, and South Australia, it's just amazing how short our memories are, because as soon as we get a whiff of going back to the norm, then everyone seems to be slipping back into those habits that they've just spent the last year and a half proving to themselves as being hindrances as opposed to being helpful. It's interesting. I find it fascinating. I find it really, really interesting. It's almost like we've been forced to go to the gym, right? We've been forced to go to the gym and we've become really super fit. And we all see the benefits of it. We all see the muscles and how better our minds are and how sharper everything is and how much more energy we've got and all that sort of cool stuff. It's almost like we've got really, really fit. And then the second that we've got an opportunity to become fat again, we're diving in. And I'm not saying this is a sweeping statement across every single business that I work with, but in a lot of them, it's almost like they can't wait to get fat and lazy and all those sorts of shitty things again, right? Now, I was listening to a podcast, and it's called The U Project. It's by a guy called Craig Harper, who's an absolute ripper of a guy. It's an amazing podcast. Sometimes gets a little bit too banging in the drum for me, but I understand why he goes down that path sometimes, because sometimes it needs to be done. Um, but he has this massive aversion to those magical 12-week programs like Get Fit in 30 days, or 6-week intensive, or boot camps, and all those sorts of stuff. He really, really detests them, right? And and his reasoning behind it is the fact that a lot of the commentary that people tend to make around all these stupid short course fitness programs and boot camps and stuff is towards the end of or they'll like be super fit and eating super healthy and all the rest of it. And then they'll celebrate, or the commentary in that last week is generally, can't wait to have a pizza. Can't wait to can't wait to have some beers, or, it's a bit like dry July, right? People have a month off booze or whatever because they want to reset. They want to, they want to get all the shit together and all that sort of stuff. And then all they can do and think about and post on social media is how much they want a beer or a wine or something. And it's kind of the same in a business sense in terms of how we're acting en masse right now. Because let's take a couple of examples. So, in New South Wales, Victoria, the fact that they can only do one-on-one inspections is something that everyone's whinging about, right? Because of the fact that, instead of being able to get 30 people through one inspection, they got to do 30 individual inspections, right? Now, for me, what you're doing is, and this is point one, what you're doing is you are trying to operate with the same mindset of the stuff that you had, as opposed to looking at the opportunities of what is happening right now. So everybody's just lamenting the fact that they've got no time and they can't wait to get back to over inspections and all this sort of stuff. But let's have a think and a look and a feel as to what lessons we should be taking from this sort of stuff, right? So the amount of people that I've spoken to, especially last year, but still this year, that have said that actually, you know what, being forced to do private inspections has actually been amazing, because it's helped us to pre-qualify the really serious ones, but as well as that, I've got a much higher strike rate, Andy, when it comes to getting offers, getting people across the line. And that ain't just the market team. That is the fact that you're going one-on-one, toe-to-toe with those buyers, giving them your undivided attention, and therefore being able to sell the product, i.e. the home, a damn sight better, right? Having that energy pointed directly at one particular purchaser is always going to benefit both them and you. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you'd go all genuine, for example, and I'm not suggesting that, but at the same time, surely some of you are getting a bit more familiar and a bit happier with doing the one-on-one inspections. Now, maybe you're wanting to do OFIs because you get a little bit antsy. You struggle a little bit with that sort of one-on-one attention that a buyer's giving you and that you're giving a buyer. Maybe you're not accustomed to that. Maybe you've been brought into the industry only doing OFIs, right? Unless it's a second inspection or a third inspection or whatever. But lots of first-time inspections generally are done by OFI by a lot of people, right? And we need to have a real good hard look, not just at the things that are becoming a pain in the ass. You've got to start looking at the lessons out of all of this thing. Joe, the opportunity to embrace what we've learned over the past 18 months will allow us to increase the personal touch activities that truly count and make a difference to our clients. Could not agree with you more, Jay Mooney. I really, really couldn't, because it's just incredible, right? If you just have a think, and this is where I'm going with this. If you have a feel as to how you're helping buyers in these one-on-one inspections, and we're just using this as a micro example. If you feel about how, and I'm being deliberate in how I'm saying this, if you feel about how you are making buyers think about a property, because you are giving them that undivided attention, even if it is for a 10, 15-minute window, right? then surely some of you will start to observe, right? Surely some of you will start to observe the positive energy that comes back towards you. I had a comment made by someone today when I was chatting to him about an auction on the weekend who said, it's crazy, right? Because, I asked the question of, because he's very, very suited and booted and very proper and all that sort of stuff in terms of how this guy goes about his game. And he's a ripper guy. He's like literally one of the best humans that I've met in the industry. And I'm not even exaggerating. And hopefully you'll watch this at some point and see that. He felt bad because he asked the purchaser if it was okay for him to come to the inspection in a pair of slacks and a polo shirt as opposed to his suit. And the response that he got gave him a slap around the face, because the buyer went, mate, we don't give a shit what you come in. We're there to look at the house, not you. And said it in a joking, nice kind of way, because they knew he was just trying to be courteous and whatnot, right? But that's the sort of shit that we need to be sort of paying a lot more attention to. We really, really do, Gan. We can either take this opportunity to evolve the game in a significant way, or we can do what I fear is coming. I don't need to be Nostradamus in saying this. What is coming is all of the old habits and behaviors that provide us as an industry with the reputation that we all get shitty about. End of. Okay. So when we're talking about breaking old patterns, old habits, the very first thing we've got to do is understand why we are so ingrained with that habit, why we are so comfortable with that habit, what it's helping us to avoid that may be more difficult at first, but we know and acknowledge, and that's the stupid thing, right? A lot of the time we know that doing things a different way is probably going to make life a bit better, but this is easier, isn't it? Right? This is easier. Fuck it. This is easier for me. We do, like, the commentary I get around that sort of shit is insane, and it really shits me. It's actually one of the reasons why I was really hesitant towards going into any form of training or coaching of any real kind, because I would have a session with an office or with an individual, right? And at the end of it, like, oh, it's amazing, that's really good, love it. And then a week later, oh yeah, oh yeah, look, yeah, oh yeah, I was gonna, but blah, blah, blah. And I can't be fucked with excuses. I really can't. It's all just excuses, especially when I get told that whatever I'm saying is legit, is going to help them, is going to help the clients, it's going to help the communication, it's going to help their efficiency, whatever the fuck it is, right? That's one of the main reasons as to why I was sorely tempted to not do any form of coaching in any real way, shape, or form, because I couldn't be bothered hearing excuses all the time. And yet, here I am, actually, in a perverse way, enjoying it. Not the excuses, definitely not enjoying that, but I'm definitely enjoying with the Century 21 network and the freedom that Charles Tarby is giving me to really stick the boot into some of these excuse makers. It's actually been, in a weird way, quite fun. But gang, we've got to really, at some point in our industry, acknowledge, for the love of God, acknowledge that the vast majority of time we stay with old habits, old patterns, old behaviors, old systems, old procedures, because quite frankly, you can't be fucked doing anything that's going to make anything any better. And yet, we're all going to keep whinging about it. I can't abide by that, gang. I can't. It's bollocks. It's so annoying, right? It's so annoying when people bitch and moan and then do fuck all to change it. It's kind of like a lot of the commentary around the institutes, right? It's kind of like a lot of the commentary around the real estate institutes around the country. I'm not going to single out anyone, But the amount of times that I've seen people bitching and moaning from the sidelines, and yet when you challenge them to get involved and get stuck in and actually get your hands dirty to make said improvements that you're all whinging about needing to be made, they all shrivel up and disappear. All of a sudden, their volume decreases and they go to ground for a couple of days or whatever. People like that just shit me. Like, like if you've made significant efforts to make improvements and all that sort of stuff, and shit is still hitting the fan, then shit, then absolutely you've got reasons to be grumpy. But unless you're prepared to do something about it, unless you're prepared to make changes, unless you're prepared to start looking at the silver lining opportunities that lie within some of the things that have been thrust upon us over the last 18 months, I'd go as far as to say you're fucked in a way. Because essentially, what especially the last 18 months has done, right? It's basically given us a snapshot as to how we need to future proof our businesses. End of. And a lot of those people that are only doing things because they have to right now, but they can't wait to get back to opens and they can't wait to get back to fucking ever. You're going to go back to old habits, and then there is going to be a gap that is formed between the agents that have learnt their lessons and the agents that haven't. The agents and the property managers and the admin and the business owners that have taken all of the great stuff that we have proved to ourselves as an industry over the course of the last however long, the ones that really keep that, lock it in the vault as absolute given and in and locked in forever. And those that I know for a fact there will be a majority of that will slip back into their old functionality, but faster than you could say boo to a goose. Swear down. That's what's going to happen. And I want to try and raise the awareness of this in a big way, because hopefully it might save some of you from throwing your businesses down the gurgler. Hopefully it will actually, this sort of, not rant, but this awareness can hopefully allow some of you to create much greater efficiencies, genuine efficiencies, not lazy fucking decisions like just shifting all of these privates back to opens, right? Not just doing that because, oh, thank God I can just get all these buyers through the one open. How about you look at all those buyers, look at the way that you're pre-qualifying them, and refine that process to create greater efficiencies in your private inspections that are going to allow you to play a much greater game when those OFIs do come back. You'll be able to maximize your time like it's insane. And it ties in with what it sort of follows on from what I was saying about saying to people that you're busy. It's bullshit. You're just whinging because you're being made to work a bit harder. It's not being busy. I'm not seeing billions of extra transactions being done. Far from it. Where is this busyness? Where is this extra stuff? As far as I can see, it's the same number of shit that's going on. The same number of stuff that was going on last year and the year before and the year before that. Where's this improvement in activity? I'm not seeing it. All I'm seeing is whinging because you're not prepared to have a look at the good stuff, take those lessons and implement them long term. But there's loads of lessons, there's loads of cool ones, loads of them. And I'm not even talking about the vaxxed versus the unvaxxed. I mentioned that a few episodes ago. The processes are going to need to get looked at. But even when the passports do come to an end, like they have done in the UK, and they will do here, right? They will. They'll have to. But why aren't we And again, and I'm hearing this with lots and lots of auction clients and lots of offices. They're using like anywhere auctions for now, but then they're not even thinking about utilizing it down the track. When in essence, what all of this has done is it's opened buyers to the opportunity that they can potentially buy their next property from the comfort of their current one, and they don't have to be around nasty agents, or they don't have to go stand in the fucking rain or get burnt in the sun if you're in Queensland, right? Sorry, I went into Melbourne mode then. Melbourne rain, Queensland sun. You know what I mean, gang. Hopefully, I'm banging on some doors. Hopefully, I'm not banging on some. Hopefully, I'm knocking down some doors around this, right? Because it's got to change. Now, if you're wondering how you can identify these lessons, right? This is what I would recommend. Feeling how you think and not thinking how you feel. That sounds a bit, again, I keep being a little bit airy fairy on almost every episode. I need to look at myself in the mirror a little bit with that. But anyway, feeling how you think as opposed to thinking how you feel. Now, the problem is, right, if we think first and then feel later, generally what that means is we're going through IQ first before we hit the EQ filter. And generally, what happens then is the EQ filter kicks in too late once the IQ decisions have been made, right? It's the whole square peg through a round hole that most agents, or a lot of agents, try and do. It's the whole thing of trying to throw every landlord down the same process over and over again, when every landlord's got a different story. Yes, the basic mechanics, the fundamentals are the same, but it could be, for example, the first time investor is shitting their pants versus the seasoned campaigner who's got about 15. Two very different customer journeys, if you ask me. Very, very different. Very different customer experiences, if you ask me. And I'll take a Pepsi challenge and argue with any PM, coach, trainer, any PM, if they say that that's not the case. The systems and procedures may be similar and they may be the same in terms of the mechanics, the logistics, but the emotion involved in those two journeys are fucking chalk and cheese. Totally different. But the problem is we don't generally tend to see that play out or feel that play out until the shit hits the fan. Because we have either completely bombarded the 15 property landlord with all this shit that he can't be fucked with, and he's like, just leave me alone, just do your job, and you've created that bit of angst there. Or worse still, you've assumed that the first time investor knows whatever the fuck they're doing, and they've just hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall and not had the thought or the sense or the feeling that they are allowed to say anything to you until it all just blows up in your face. Right? When emotion gets the better of them, and then UPMs cop it in the neck. Right? So if we feel about how we think as opposed to thinking about how we feel, then essentially, what does that end up meaning? Human filter first. Right now, I would argue that the vast majority of decisions that get made on a professional level only. Right? Any process, any procedure, it gets made via a professional filter only. Right? I'm talking to a new office in the C21 network, and then we need to get them set up with their processes, procedures, file handling, all that sort of stuff. And the argument that I've had back is, look, we've been in sales for however many years, 7 years or 10 years or whatever the case may be. We know how to handle files, thanks. Right. You do as a professional. Have you even given any consideration to the experience for the customer once you've got that set? Do you have any procedures in place to make sure that all of the work that you've done with that customer isn't undone by lack of communication, by lack of awareness to the purchaser or the vendor or whoever the case may be? Have you given that any thought? And I get blank faces whenever I ask that sort of question, which is a bit fucking dumb, if you ask me. Now, why is it dumb? And this goes in line with it's probably the most contributing thing towards the shitty reputation that the industry tends to get. It's hilarious when I have conversations with agents and I'll point something out and they'll go, fuck yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, that makes total sense, that. Oh, totally understand you. Yeah, that's great. And it is the most obvious shit known to man. If they were to just for 1 second actually feel their way through the scenario, the situation, the problem, the solution, the process, as a human being before they start getting a professional hat on. Surely, right? And this is what happens with all the best ideas. They solve a human problem, right? Human has a problem, and then people look at that human problem, acknowledge the problem as human, and then work back. They reverse engineer solutions utilizing their IQ after the event. That's how all the best products in the world come to be. They don't put their professional hat on and go, right, we need to find a problem and then we've got a solution that solves it. And that's what generally tends to happen with a lot of technology nowadays, right? They're just fixing problems that aren't even fucking there. But if they were to think and feel like, a human first before they think like a professional and actually feel their way through a scenario, they will find very quickly the issues that will arise. For me, right, that for me is for me, it's very obvious to say that because that's all I've ever done is feel about things and feel about how, how's that going to make someone feel if we change this, that, and the other? It's going to make them feel great, wonderful, right? How do we make sure that that is actioned every single time to make everybody feel great? Or alternatively, oh man, I'm thinking about doing this because it's going to mean that I'll save a few dollars here. My efficiencies will improve. All right, cool. But how's that going to make our clients feel? Are they going to feel like it's a real good convenience play, that they're getting the information delivered quicker and all the rest of it? Or are they going to feel like they are an inconvenience that we are just shortcutting things with? And it's very easy to get yourself into that frame of mind again because we're all fucking humans first. We all got born into this world as human beings before we became whatever it is that we became. And I'm talking about professionals, right? I mean, I think to a degree, arseholes are born arseholes, right? But that's another topic entirely. I feel though that we really, really, really do need to switch around how we feel our way through these processes, how we make decisions around structures and stuff. And we can even talk about internal as opposed to just the customer. We could even talk about how our people feel, right? In our teams, we should be able to do that. It's very easy, and I get it, right? Especially when money's tight. It's very easy to, make decisions based off the pennies and whatnot, because ultimately money makes the world go round. First to acknowledge that. But at the same time, it's any decisions that are made just by that are going to be short-term changes that are going to cause long-term problems when half your staff leave and you have to spend fuck knows how much money recruiting and retraining. Counterproductive, counterintuitive, right? Joe, planning for first weekend as a grand open and qualified privates thereafter. Thoughts? Um, yeah, 100%. I would. Because like for me, and I always used to do this anyway, and you know this, Joe. I always used to do this. I, for me, it just shits me how agents rely on just opens to get people through. I knew, and I checked this, and you guys have got to actually go back and work out your strike rates and whatnot. Because my strike rate used to be about 1 in 19 purchases coming through opens would buy a home because you're playing on the volume game, right? But then when it got down to one-on-one inspections, at one stage I was like 1 in 5 or 1 in 7. And when you consider how long an open takes to get set up, get there, do it, get everything down, get your open boards out, and then back in, all that sort of jazz. You got it. Those ratios are seriously worth considering. They really are. Now you do need to have a degree of, like the open for inspections for me are important for lots of people whose English is not their first language. And I've had that said to me by a lot of people that are, of a primary language that's different to English. They need those open for inspections because they really struggle to communicate over the phone. And that's fine. That's understandable. There's a lot of people, the majority of people that don't want to interact with an agent until they feel they need to. And that's understandable as well because we're not helping ourselves in any way, shape, or form in that regard. But at the same time, why not? Why not focus on creating as many private inspections off that open as you possibly could? I think that makes sense. I think it's common sense. If someone's going to go around for a second inspection, surely, because they're seriously considering buying a home, surely you owe it to them as purchasers instead of as humans, not as commodities, to give them that little bit of time, give them that little bit of one-on-one attention. Because what have we discovered? Those buyers are thinking differently because we're being made to do one-on-one inspections and they are getting some attention. Only a little bit, but it's a fuckload more than what they were getting from the outset. My house sold on last week, right? Was on for a day. We had 13 inspections booked for the night after, right? So it was on market on the Wednesday. We went 13 inspections, private inspections on the Wednesday, 13 inspections on the Thursday. Those 13 inspections, 5 of them made legit offers. 5 out of 13. That's really strong odds. And if you play the odds team when it comes to making some of these decisions, then fuck, you're going to be in a better spot. But the big thing is they all got some undivided attention. They got made to feel like humans. God's sake. Gang, I would implore any of the decisions. So I would be doing, if anybody is worth anything in this industry, before everything starts really opening back up again in New South Wales and Victoria, and before lots of stock starts coming on in that traditional spring sort of rush in all the states and over in New Zealand, right? Before that really kicks off, any professional worth their salt would be going back and learning the lessons, writing them down, and then working out how they are going to make their customers feel by making these changes permanent through your process. Human filter first, and then work back to make sure that you can do things in a professional way. That's how all the best businesses, all the best ideas, all the best inventions came to pass. That's not me just making shit up because I want to sound clever. Just do a history lesson. Look at all of the biggest companies ever started. Look at all of the biggest products ever invented. And look to see how they all started. They all started because as a human, they came across a problem. And then they put their intelligence to work on discovering how to fix said problem. That's how all the best things come to pass. Or you could just keep going on your merry way, doing the same shit, and then whinging and moaning because everyone hates the industry, and buyers are liars, and all that sort of 1980s, 1990s rhetoric. Up to you. Up to you. I know which way I'd be going if I was on the front line. I know which way I'd be going. I'd be making sure that my human filter is very much into gear. Because, yeah, I mean, look, you might be taking a small hit on the profit margin or a bit of a hit on the profit margin, and you've got to be calculated with that, right? So you've got to make sure that you're not just pissing your money down the drain because you're making everybody happy, right? There's got to be some business practicality to all this decision making. But if it's a case of taking, I don't know, as a business owner, taking after all your costs and your commission cuts, splits, and all that, if it goes from taking you from like a 20% profit margin to a 17 or 16% profit margin, but then the benefits are agents are like your staff are happy, your clients are happier. Seriously, how long do you think that's going to take to pay you back? It's not going to take half as long as what you think. Go through all your processes, assess what's worked well, assess what's genuinely been a pain in the ass for the consumer. If it has been a pain in the ass for you, have a look at it and go, yeah, but the customers really fucking like that. All right, cool. IQ hat on. How can we utilize technology? How can we utilize automation? How can we utilize the new knowledge that we have in order to refine that so that we can maintain the essence that made the humans happy, but at the same time, allow us to create consistency with it. Make sure we can actually make it happen all the time. I don't know. I just think you do that, you're going to give yourself greater capacity. You're going to give yourself more connections. You're going to give yourself a greater loyalty from your community, your client base, and your staff base. What, for a couple of points in your profit margin here and there? You're going to end up having a business for life. I don't see that as a massive risk. Anyway, campers, I'm going to love you and leave you. I've talked, 40 minutes. Wow. For those of you that are registered, if you are registered to PM Revive, it's Reedy's turn, 10 a.m. this coming Wednesday. It's the third Wednesday in the PM Revive series, which has been put together by Nina Sutton. It's my turn. In my little chat, I'm going to talk about values and goals and all this sort of fun stuff, and hopefully maybe change one or two trains of thought around that. So if I see you there, that hopefully will provide some entertainment, have some fun, and give you some value there. Otherwise, I will see you Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Now, this thing with Century 21, right, is, and Better Homes and Gardens, is I am now becoming something of a genius around time zones. I've got to operate across 5 different time zones now because of daylight savings. Thanks, Australia. Honestly, it's actually quite fun. Gang, keep yourselves up and about. Stop telling yourself you're busy and actually look at how productive you're being, because I guarantee you that busyness is hiding some inefficiencies, and those inefficiencies are going to come waltzing back in as soon as you get the opportunity to. Don't get fit like what we have done and then just start gorging on shit that makes you fat and lazy and makes your business fat and lazy, and you end up just slobbing to the same results that you've had over the last few years. No one likes that shit. Sure, you want to advance your lives. This is what it is. This is what it's all about. Anyway, campers, stay safe, stay healthy. Most importantly, stay happy. And I'll see you Wednesday, either in the morning at PM Revive or in the nighttime, right here on the same back channel, same night. Take care.